500,000 people. That's the entire population of Cape Verde. Compare that to Argentina, a football nation of 45 million, 3 World Cup titles, and the greatest player of this generation still lacing up his boots at 39. On paper, this was never supposed to be a contest. But on the night of July 3rd, inside Hard Rock Stadium in Miami, the smallest nation left in the tournament walked out and very nearly ended the champion's dream in the round of 32. So how did a side ranked 67th in the world take Lionel Messi and Argentina to the very edge? By the time Cape Verde landed in Miami, they had already done something no one predicted. They came out of a group containing Spain, Uruguay, and Saudi Arabia without winning a single match and still advanced. 3 draws, that's it. That alone made them the first team since Chile back in 1998 to reach the knockout stage of a World Cup without a single win in the group stage. Think about that context for a second. Spain came into this tournament as one of the favorites. Uruguay had a squad built for exactly this kind of physical, high-stakes football, and Cape Verde walked away from both games unbeaten. Against Spain, it was a goalless draw that turned their goalkeeper into an overnight sensation. Against Uruguay, they matched fire with fire in a 2-2 thriller. That goalkeeper deserves his own moment here. His name is Josimar Évora Diaz, known simply as Vozinha, and before that Spain match, he had roughly 40,000 followers on Instagram. Nobody outside of Cape Verdean football really knew who he was. After a string of point-blank saves kept Spain off the scoresheet, that number jumped to over 17 million. A goalkeeper from an island nation became one of the most talked-about players of the entire tournament in the space of 90 minutes. If you're new here, this channel breaks down every major World Cup 2026 story as it happens. No filler, just the facts and the context you actually want. Go ahead and hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. So that's the backdrop heading into Miami. A team with nothing to lose, a wall of a goalkeeper riding a wave of momentum, and a manager who kept telling anyone who'd listen that his players genuinely believed they could do something historic. On the other side stood Argentina, unbeaten through their group against Algeria, Austria, and Jordan, having not conceded a single goal at this World Cup heading into the round of 32. Messi arrived at this tournament sitting level with Kylian Mbappe on the tournament's all-time scoring charts, and he wasted no time adding to that tally here. In the 29th minute, he collected the ball, dropped his shoulder, and buried it low past Vozinha with his trademark left foot. It was his 7th goal of the tournament, and it looked, for a moment, exactly like the routine victory everyone expected. Here's where things get interesting, though. Cape Verde didn't fold. They didn't sit back and try to protect a respectable scoreline. Instead, they kept pushing forward on the counter, using long diagonal balls to stretch Argentina's backline, and in the 59th minute, it paid off. Roy Duarte slammed a finish past Emiliano Martinez, and suddenly a stadium full of Argentine fans went quiet. From that point on, the momentum shift was impossible to ignore. Argentina, by most accounts, started to fade physically as the second half wore on, while Cape Verde seemed to grow stronger with every passing minute. That's not supposed to happen against a team with this much World Cup pedigree, but football at this level often comes down to belief just as much as it comes down to talent, and Cape Verde had that in abundance. The game went to extra time, and this is where the story really earns its place in World Cup history. Early in the additional 30 minutes, Lisandro Martinez rose to meet a corner and restored Argentina's lead, and for a brief moment, it looked like the champions had weathered the storm. But there's another angle to this match that nobody saw coming, and his name is Sidney Lopez Cabral. In the 103rd minute, with Cape Verde needing something extraordinary, Cabral picked up the ball on the edge of the box and curled a shot into the top corner that will likely be remembered as one of the greatest goals in World Cup history, regardless of the eventual result. It wasn't a deflection, it wasn't a scrappy rebound. It was a strike that would have won any match at any level of the sport. 2-2 with barely 20 minutes of extra time remaining. This matters because of what it represents. Argentina's expected goals for the match sat at over 2, while Cape Verde's sat below half a goal. In simple terms, the underlying numbers said this should have been a comfortable Argentine win. Instead, the team with a fraction of that quality had matched them goal for goal on the biggest stage in football. Quick reminder, if you're finding this breakdown useful, subscribing helps this channel keep covering every twist of this tournament in depth. It genuinely makes a difference. So how did it finally end? In the second half of extra time, Christian Romero rose to meet a header from a Messi delivery, and as the ball traveled goalward, it took a slight touch off Cape Verde defender Dini Borges on its way past Vozinha. It counted as an own goal, but make no mistake, it was Argentina's relentless pressure that forced the error. Cape Verde threw everything forward in the closing minutes, with Semedo, Cabral, and Benchimol all having chances that came agonizingly close, but the Blue Sharks' remarkable run through this World Cup ended 3-2. The bigger issue here is what this match tells us about the state of international football heading into the back half of this tournament. This wasn't a fluke result padded by a red card or a refereeing controversy. This was a nation of 500,000 people going toe-to-toe with the defending champions for nearly 2 full hours of football, generating real chances, scoring a genuinely world-class goal, and forcing Argentina into their most uncomfortable knockout match since the 2022 final itself. Historically, this kind of run has precedent, but it's rare. You can point to Senegal's run in 2002 or Costa Rica's surprise quarterfinal appearance in 2014 as comparable moments where a lower-ranked side captured the imagination of the football world. What makes Cape Verde's story different is the scale of the mismatch. This was the lowest-ranked nation ever to reach the knockout stage of a World Cup on their tournament debut, going up against the #1 ranked team on the planet and coming within a matter of minutes of eliminating them entirely. For the players themselves, this match will likely define their careers regardless of what happens next. Deroy Duarte and Sidney Lopes Cabral will be remembered in Cape Verdean football history the way certain names are remembered in other underdog stories, forever tied to the night their country announced itself to the entire world. And Vozinha, the goalkeeper, who went from 40,000 followers to internet stardom in a matter of weeks, produced yet another string of saves that kept his side in the contest deep into extra time. On the flip side, think about what this does to Argentina heading into the rest of the tournament. 7 of their last 13 World Cup knockout matches have gone to extra time, and no team in World Cup history has played more extra time minutes than Argentina. There's an argument to be made that this level of physical and mental strain, match after match, eventually catches up with even the most talented squads. Messi himself acknowledged after the final whistle that his team has plenty of things to improve heading into the next round. If you want more breakdowns like this one as the knockout rounds continue, subscribing is honestly the best way to stay caught up without digging through a dozen different sources yourself. So what happens now? Argentina moves on to face Egypt in the round of 16, a side that just eliminated Australia on penalties. On paper, that's a considerably more favorable matchup for the champions than the test Cape Verde just put them through. But if this tournament has taught us anything so far, it's that comfortable matchups on paper don't always translate to comfortable nights on the pitch. The best-case scenario for Argentina from here is fairly straightforward. They take the lessons from this scare, tighten up defensively, and manage Messi's minutes more carefully, given how much extra-time football his body has already absorbed this tournament. The worst-case scenario, and it's a realistic one given the pattern we've just seen, is that the fatigue from a match like this lingers into the next round, especially against a well-organized Egyptian side that has already shown it can grind out results under pressure. For Cape Verde, there's no shame in how this tournament ended. They arrived with nothing to lose and leave as one of the most talked-about stories of the entire World Cup. Their run raises real questions about how FIFA and other federations scout and invest in smaller footballing nations going forward, and whether we're about to see more of these debut nations making genuine knockout runs rather than making up the numbers in the group stage. There's also a broader conversation building around how these kinds of performances shape the future of the sport's smaller federations. When a country the size of Cape Verde produces a run like this, it tends to open doors, more investment, more attention, more young players believing that this path is actually possible for them. Whether that momentum turns into anything lasting for Cape Verdean football remains to be seen, but the foundation from this tournament is undeniable. One more reminder before we wrap up. If this kind of in-depth World Cup coverage is what you're here for, subscribing means you won't miss the next breakdown the moment it goes up. So let's bring it together. Argentina survive 3-2 after extra time in what was easily their toughest test of the tournament so far. Cape Verde, the smallest nation left in the competition, produced a night that will be remembered for years, an own goal deciding the outcome after a goal that will be replayed for decades. Messi and his teammates move on to face Egypt, carrying both the relief of survival and the weight of just how close they came to an early exit.